Hi, and welcome to Ladies of the Paranormal World. Today we are live with Dwight from My Haunted Fowler. So, Dwight, why don't you give us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, maybe a little bit of background? What got you started into the paranormal field?
Sure. My name is Dwight. I live in Fowler, Indiana, and I manage two locations. I don't own them. One is a nonprofit owned uh, theater, and then the other is an old jail that I have access to. And we've been offering paranormal investigations at both locations for a while. The What got me started, though, was go all the way back to when I was a kid. There was a show called In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, and that's how old I am. Um, and that's like my earliest memories of the paranormal. I love Bigfoot. I love UFOs, Loch Ness, all of that.
Good
And
thing we cover them all.
and so I followed that my entire life. I never really got into ghost hunting. I will say that when I was younger, my stepdad would take us to old abandoned houses, and we would ghost hunt, but it wasn't like what I do today.
Right.
And I was a late bloomer, actually. I didn't really get into it until I was about 48 or 49,
Oh, okay.
in terms of actually doing investigations. So we moved to Fowler. I so when we moved to Fowler, the house that we live in today, we started having paranormal activity right away.
Oh,
Um, and we were doing renovations, and as we did renovations, things were happening, voices, shadows. My boys were little; they would hear their names being said in their rooms while they played by themselves.
ooh.
Uh, over the years, my oldest would tell me he was sure he saw me sitting at the end of his bed. He turned on the light; there was no one there,
Oh
and
my God.
so all this stuff was happening here. I had no clue about the theater or the jail. I didn't even know where the jail was, and
Oh,
I started volunteering at the theater. And probably within a few months, we had a group come in to do a paranormal investigation. And apparently, I bugged them enough with questions, and I was digging into what they do and how the equipment worked. And I have a technology background, so they asked me if I'd like to join the team. And I went on a couple of their investigations of the theater. Actually, the first couple that they did before I was even engaged with that, they really didn't have much activity, even though people had reported shadow figures, voices, doors opening, closing. Um, and the night they were about to call it, for themselves to say it's not haunted, everything broke loose.
oh,
Faucet came on, toilet flushed. It was a good night of paranormal activity. And then I joined them as they're doing like R&D kind of tech stuff. And about that same time, we've added security cameras to the theater. All of a sudden, we were capturing lights going on and off in the middle of the night, doors opening on their own, voices, etc.
mm,
And from there, it just kind of built. So and then about a year or so, we got permission to go into the old Benton County Jail, and it was built in 1876, and it's still
oh
standing
my
and
God.
it's still solid. And we have had great activity in both locations. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about how I got into it, and how I got associated with those two locations.
That sounds like a pretty awesome introduction to the paranormal field. So I have to ask you, what was your very first paranormal experience? Your personal first experience.
Oh, my personal first. I would be in this house, and boy, it's a toss up. One night. So one night I was watching TV. The kids were little. It was my wife was in bed, and I heard a grown man say Dwight. Now I'm also one to try to debunk everything as much as I can.
Same
So
here.
it's very yeah. So it's very possible I was dozing off, dream state, whatever. So I kind of like played that one off. And then another night, my wife and I were sitting watching TV, and we kept hearing. Well, we're watching TV, and she leans back and on her couch and yells, "Go to bed!" And I'm like, "Who are you talking to?" She said, "One of the boys are up." I was like, "That's not one of the boys." She goes, "What do you mean it's not one of the boys?" I said, "Yeah, that's a noise I hear in the kitchen every night about this time. It's
Oh
like
well.
somebody was in there getting a drink."
Oh,
And
wow. So maybe something residual, or do you think it was an intelligent entity?
I struggle with that one. It could be residual. Um, we only know of one person that passed away in this house. It was of natural causes. Um, there, in this where we are, like much of the United States, there is history of Native American wars with the British and the French and and the English and so on. So death, that kind of death follows the whole countryside. So there could
Yes.
be that kind of history. Tecumseh, there was the Battle of Tippecanoe and Tecumseh in this area. So there's a lot of that at play. So I'm not 100% sure. I try to be cautious too because the person who did pass away, he's got family. I don't want to offend them. I don't want to say it's him. All I can say is weird
Right.
stuff happens, and I can't explain it.
I was gonna say, a lot of what I hear, because I talk to a lot of different investigators, a lot of different people that have had experiences. I don't know if you've watched my show, but I've had a lot of people on here from Caleb Bench to Bobby Mackey on my show, and one of the things they use a lot is the word weird. Weird things. It's like your mind can't quite comprehend what it is that you're experiencing, and the only word we have for it is strange, weird, unusual, unexplained, and throw the word paranormal around quite as easily. And one of the
Right.
reasons is there's a lot of things where pareidolia, um, voice boxes, stuff like that. One of the things that I tend to keep in the back of my mind with any of those equipment pieces is pareidolia. If it's just
Right.
spitting out random things, you're most likely hearing just pareidolia, whatever's, flipping through the channels, which is why I prefer things like SB7 Spirit Box or things like that because it doesn't have that jumbled spit of random information.
Right.
So, if you had to say, in your experiences as far as an investigator, what is your most popular or preferred communication tool?
I'm like you. I like the SB7. Um, I I will say my ears a lot of times are the most important. We investigated. I went with a group that investigated the jail in Crown Point, Indiana, where John Dillinger escaped.
Ooh,
And as we were doing an Estes session, um, we heard things being moved around this entire floor. And so at first I thought, oh, it could be an animal, but it would happen in one corner, and a piece of furniture would get just shoved, and it would happen in
ooh,
another corner, and a piece of So it was just like that experience. To me, is the best of all when you don't even have to use any kind of equipment. The security cameras at the theater, um, but I know you can't record everything and you can't get audio on everything. But I'd say SB7 is probably my preferred unique way of trying to connect versus an audio recording where maybe you hear something. The SB7, I like that, and I like it when you can ask a question and get a response. And one of our favorite things to do is play it through the theater speakers. So in the
mm-hmm.
auditorium, you have this loud spirit box just playing, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Now it's said that when you get real answers, when you get intelligent answers, it comes over multiple sweeps. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with sweeps, it's basically like taking the knob on your car radio and flipping it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth as fast as you can. Those are sweeps. It's how many channels you're going through. Now, a nice, clear, concise, what we can say definitive answer would be over multiple sweeps. Would that be accurate?
I would agree. Yeah.
A lot of them, we talk about people hearing things in the same voice over multiple sweeps, over multiple different sessions. Those are my favorite. Those are the ones that are hard to debunk.
Yeah.
Have you had any experiences where you've been able to communicate reoccurringly with the same entity?
Hmm. I would say yes, and I say that with a pause. Two locations. There's another location in town that they stopped letting us investigate because we are getting so much activity. It was freaking them out,
Oh
And
no.
it's like, we aren't doing this. But at the theater, I feel like we regularly connect with the manager who shot and killed himself in 1968.
Oh wow.
And I think he's still there. The other one, it's a museum here in town, and they just take stuff in from wherever, and they really don't ever vet what they get. Um, and that actually, it's a place where I think I have the creepiest video capture I have ever encountered in my entire life. But there is a soldier. Well, there was a soldier who'd passed away, and he was a blacksmith when he returned from World War One or two. Must have been, I think it was one. But anyway, his uniform is there. His blacksmith stuff is there. His photograph, military stuff. And we had this RIM pod session that, I mean, I feel like the whole conversation was him. I mean, a question you'd ask would be a response. It was just solid back and forth. So I feel like that's that one session that I connected the most with someone.
That's pretty awesome. And when you say back and forth, they were answering intelligently to your questions.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. Those are the kind of experiences that paranormal investigators such as you and myself, we strive for those kinds of experiences.
Yeah.
Now, as far as footage, I want to hear about this video. You said you caught a really creepy video. So what happened leading up to the video, and what happened in the video? I don't know if we have it to share, but I would like to hear about it.
So I will make sure that I get that video for you to share. So we are doing a walk through the museum. It's me and a group of others, and I'm running a camera the entire time. And we're just trying to take everything in, get a feel for what's going on. And so we go through, we do the walkthrough, and then we get ready, and we do our investigation.
Hi, Mary.
I'm reviewing the footage, and I make a comment. It's not a very nice comment. It was not mean at anybody in particular, but there are two dolls in this room, and both of them are handmade. One was made by an adult woman, and another one was made by her 9-year-old nephew when he was in the I don't know 40s or something, 1940s. And it is pink dress, brown sewn in eyes, and I made the comment, I don't like that creepy. I think I said creepy ass soulless eyed doll.
Ooh.
And when I reviewed the footage after I said it, and there's no one near it, the doll jerks backwards, like just violently.
Oh.
And yeah, that to me is probably the best footage that I've gotten that is something physical moving and happening.
Oh wow, that sounds pretty. I probably would have been creeped out about if I'd seen that. Now, did you actually see it in person, or did you not notice it until you reviewed the footage?
No, it wasn't until I reviewed the footage, and it was just like, holy crap.
Wow. Now, everybody that is a paranormal investigator has different experiences, some darker than others. Now, have you had any experiences that you would qualify as demonic experiences?
No. Nothing that I can stake, put my hat in or put a feather in a cap, I guess. I'm making up our analogies here. So we have had contact with what we believe to be two little kids at the theater. And I feel like it's a kid. I don't have any reason not to think it's a kid, but people have warned me to be careful that it's not an evil entity or masquerading as a kid.
Right. And so they believe it's a mimicker.
Right. And so that's probably that. I will say that between the two locations, the theater and the jail is the more negative. I used to go in there. I still will go in there by myself from time to time. But when it's late at night and we've had a lot of activity and a group is investigating, I leave with that group. I have had the creepiest. So the doll is the most, the greatest capture of all, we'll call it, for me at least. But the creepiest was at the jail. So in the basement of the jail, it's called the dungeon. And there's 8 cells. They are fit for one person, but they kept probably 2, or maybe could have been solitary. There was a sheriff in 1964 who was a former sheriff at that point, was quoted as saying they would take prisoners down there and they would chain them to the wall until they confessed or went crazy. So this is a dark, dark part of the whole theater or
Mm-hmm.
jail. I do that all the time. I mix the two up. But we're down in the basement, and I'm watching an SLS camera, and there's a big door laying on its side. And as I'm watching the camera screen, I see a black mass move down the length of the door and go behind it. And on my right shoulder, I hear a heavy breath, just sort of a, and I go, "Hey,"
Oh,
I said, "Hey, Pete, did you see that?" I turned because my friend Pete was, I thought, standing there. Pete was nowhere around, and
oh
he was
no.
actually at the opposite end. And I am pretty good about not like, I'm not a run dude run, but I'm also, I'm pretty steady. But that one, I was, Pete, get in here. And that area, we've had growls. We've
Oh,
So the best of that, the link I dropped for the jail, there's one on there for a growl. It said a girl's name that was in the group. It was pretty creepy for her, especially since it said her name. Um, but it is a very dark location. It's actually a couple of feet away from the evidence room, and we know there was evidence in there from fights, from suicides, from murder, and there's a lot of darkness in that section.
yeah. Now I know with I talk about it all the time on my show. Jails, asylums, any place that's really had a dark history. And the reason I say asylums, or what they call lunatic asylums, is because back in the early 1800s and so, you were ignored, you were mistreated, you were definitely neglected, abused beyond mention. We have a center where the patients would have their teeth pulled for biting.
Hmm.
So we know that they were in the deplorable conditions, absolutely deplorable. And the prisons were much better. Um, in the prison where you've had some darker experiences, now you said you've had some growls. Do you think that those maybe are just negative entities, or do you think that there's a possibility that there's maybe a malevolent entity stalking that area of the prison?
I'm going to probably lean toward, and maybe because I want it to not be demonic, negative. I do think something came home with me for a brief period of time. There was
Ooh.
like 3 months. It was right just when I was really starting to do investigations at the jail. I For 3 months, my wife and I smelled in the family room, and both of our boys were home, and they were teenagers. So there's always a chance they could have been vaping or experimenting or whatever.
Mhm.
But in one spot in the whole house, it smelled like cigar pipe smoke, like cherry flavored cigar pipe smoke. And it was
Huh.
only in that one section. And then about 3 months later, it stopped.
Oh wow. Okay, so maybe some kind of an attachment, an unanticipated attachment,
Yeah.
that
So
made it kind of come home with
I
you.
started using protection of just basically telling them, no one's leaving with me. You got to
Yeah.
stay right here. This is where you belong.
One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is your words are powerful, and if you make it known that you are not opening yourself for them to come home with you, it's a lot more effective than you think. Um, when you go to places, a lot of people take precautionary measures prior to an investigation. Do you take any precautionary measures yourself prior to going on an investigation besides the power of word? I know a lot of people do like the St. Michael's coin. Some people carry the rosaries with them. What about you?
I really don't. I've had some crystals given to me. I I need to get better about learning about the crystals and the different types and what they do and how they do protect or how they do also, you know, instigate.
Purify and cleanse.
So I want to make sure I have the right ones with me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You don't want to accidentally, put one that's a little on the darker side of things, where you're thinking you're purifying. um, a lot of experiences that I've had, I tend to steer away from, and I say this in every single episode, and I'm gonna say it again: Ouija boards. I stay away from them. I don't like them. They terrify me. Have you ever used any form of Ouija, or have you had any experiences with a Ouija board that made you kind of go, maybe I shouldn't have done that? Mary says prayer, salt, and my stupid thing here cuts it off. And sage. Prayer, salt, and sage. Oop. Did you freeze on me? Uh-oh, I think he froze. That or I froze. Uh-oh, I lost him. Sorry guys, we are having a technical difficulties. Not sure what happened here, but hopefully we get him back. Oh dear. Shades of last night. Yeah. Come on. Come on, bud. Ah, there's the doll moves. You know what? While we're trying to get him back up and running, we'll share some of the clips here that he uh, put for us to share. Okay. There you are. I was gonna say, what happened?
Well, I just switched my phone. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're good. Okay, so
Okay.
what I was
Something
saying
happened with
though
my internet
before
on my
we
computer.
lost you is what's your take on Ouija boards? And then I'm gonna start playing some of the clips that you showed, and I'm gonna start with that doll one. I did see that you sent me that one.
So I've always been leery of Ouija boards, and I don't have a negative experience with them. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. There was a group that brought a Ouija board into the basement of the jail, and they were asking questions, and they are getting an answer, and that was spelling out the word knife. And
Oh,
unbeknownst to anybody in the room, in a pipe right above, and there was a knife, and I don't know why
oh,
the knife was there. I'm shorter, so I've never seen the knife. Well, a friend of mine was there and he saw the knife before. He's like, "Should we move the knife?" I'm like, "No, that knife stays. It's there for a reason. We're not touching it." And this group spelled out knife with their Ouija board, and they didn't know it was there. I never told them. So I think if you do it right, you can have some success. If you don't do it right, it could get kind of iffy. In the museum I was telling you about, there was actually a Ouija board that was pre 1940, and so the
oh my
woman who
gosh.
made the doll, the aunt, she had that Ouija board too, and it was before Hitler had turned the swastika into a negative symbol, but it's got a swastika and a Star of David on it.
Oh wow. Oh wow, wow, wow. That's definitely, yeah. I don't think I'd want to play with that one.
No, and in that same room we found that. We actually found a World War II Nazi helmet.
Oh,
The director didn't even know it was in there. It was underneath an army helmet.
oh wow.
Yeah,
So
somebody brought it back from the
some
war.
pretty interesting artifacts
Yeah,
that are in that museum. That's pretty cool and kind of creepy. So I'm gonna start sharing some of these clips that you had sent me, and the first one I'm gonna start with is the doll moves at the Benton County. Is that right? Benton County Museum.
yes.
And I'm gonna be experiencing in real times like you guys are. So I have not seen this prior to the show. So here we go. Oh wow. Oh wow, it really does. It just kind of moves. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play that one last. Maybe.
and I called it a creepy ass soulless-eyed doll, and it didn't like it apparently.
Yeah, it decided it was. Oh, cool. Guess what? We're gonna show you creepy. So apparently, it decided it wanted back. I didn't want it to do that. There we go. Only thing about YouTube that stinks.
Yeah, there
So
should
this
be
this
audio
here
with that
is the
one.
doll we're talking about, and it does. It completely moves.
Yeah, and there's a part in there where I try to show that the other closest person is opposite of. I mean, they're not. There's no one touching the table or near the table. She's a
Wow.
little like.
You definitely call it a soulless idol, and it just kind of seems to react to that. Now, watching that, sorry, I'm going to pull this down. Watching that and watching how violently it jerks, and it does, it violently jerks to the side, and there's nothing touching it. And we're certain that it didn't fall. I mean, if it had fallen, the whole thing would have fallen. Um, how did that make you feel when you went back and you saw that?
It really that one did creep me out, and um, I think it's a lot of it is some of the just the fact that it's a doll. The story behind it too was that the gentleman or the when the boy grew up and was on his deathbed, he told his sister that when he dies, he wants her to destroy that doll. Well, she didn't. She donated it to the museum, and I
Oh,
don't know why he wanted it destroyed, but I just wonder if because she went against his wishes. There's activity with the doll, and I didn't make it very happy that night. I did go
well,
in later than
I'm
later.
wondering if the reason he wanted the doll destroyed was something was already possessing it.
Well, and I thought so too because if his aunt was into using a Ouija board and she was doing things evil, dark, whatever, maybe there's a connection there. But a subsequent investigation, I did go in and I apologized to that doll.
I'm sure you did too. It responded to you, and it did. It responded to you. So maybe you hurt its feelings. I don't know. That's kind of crazy, creepy though. Okay, so the next one I'm going to share here is top 8 recorded activities from the Fowler Theater. Is that right? Make sure
Yes.
that's right. Okay. And I love sharing stuff like this, so I'm going to let it play through the whole clip, and then I'll ask you a little bit about it after it's played through.
Okay.
I got to get back to my share screen here. I always forget to do that, and then people are like, I can't, it's trying to show me. So here we go. Oh, no, no. Okay, that's creepy. Now, I noticed in this video the two in the chairs, and I can't tell who's who because it's kind of zoomed out. Looking behind them. Are they seeing something?
Yeah, we thought somebody was playing tricks on us with the remote control.
Yeah, that's where it looks like it, and I can see that two people keep looking back behind them, like they're hearing something or seeing something from behind them. Okay. Oh, huh. Oh, wow.
Yeah, our camera picked up something passing in front of their camera.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
This is one of my favorite.
Oh, wow. That was pretty clear.
And right before all of this, I thought I heard a movie playing in the auditorium, and I was
Oh, wow.
alone.
And I mean, you can clearly see there's no one there. Huh. Okay.
This was pretty wild.
Oh, whoa. What in the world?
The investigator that was with me that night, he was grabbing a cigarette in the street. And he didn't see anything.
Oh wow! So it was only caught on the camera. All right.
So I was up by the concession stand, and the two investigators that night were behind the stage, and they're coming up to talk to me about their SLS activity behind the stage.
Okay.
And sometimes my clips are a little long because I want to make sure that people get a chance to see that, in this case, the people are coming away from that area.
Gotcha.
I try very hard to make sure everything's on the up and up.
I was waiting for it. I'm like, I know it's in there. I can hear it. That's an awesome set of clips, and then we're going to share them. But just kind of give us a little walkthrough on some of those. The first one that you showed, I had a really hard time hearing it. So can you just kind of tell us what's being said in that EVP or that recording?
So, yeah, it's 3 a.m. I'm under the stage, so I crawled under there to do my own EVP session. One of those braver moments where I'm alone in the theater. Everybody had left, so I stuck around. And I'm asking questions, and I'm not really getting any responses. But on the camera, when I played it back, I had to turn it up, but it sounds to me like it's, no, a long drawn out no.
Okay, so maybe I did hear it. The reason I said I had a hard time hearing it is I thought that maybe it was the camera making noises or something. But no, if it's what you're saying it is, then I heard it too. That is a really good capture. But now I want to go to the one where you have the lights of the camera backstage, and you can clearly see what looks like either a dark figure or a person pass in front of the light, which blocks out the light. And then you do show the backstage showing that there's nobody back there, but it also has the same effect on the backstage. What was happening in the time where that had taken place?
So we had an event that day, and it had ended, and then this paranormal group was coming in. They wanted to set all their cameras up before the movie that night, and so because they had DVR and a bunch of equipment, and they wanted to get it in place, so all they had to do was run cable when they started. So we're in the back and we're just talking about experiences at the theater and their own experiences in other locations. And one of the investigators, the one I'm talking to, he's sitting with his back to his monitors. Well, I'm facing the monitors while I'm talking to him, and on one of the monitors, it's their camera backstage, and I just see it go black, and then the light again. And I was, quickly I was like, "Did you guys see that?" And they didn't, so they played it back and they saw it, and that's it. So I brought up our camera because I can play it on the spot, and so their camera was basically right below our camera. Ours is mounted on a wall, and they had set theirs up on a tripod right below. So both of them are infrared cameras, and the their infrared basically whatever it was blocked it out, and ours picked it up. And you could just see it go black and go back.
Oh, wow. Now, when you're doing these investigations, do you leave the cameras running all night long, the whole time?
Yeah, our security cameras are 24/7, and we're trying to figure out a way that we could just stream them. People could just watch them themselves, but within reason. So if somebody's working, we don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
Well, yeah.
But we have 3, 4, 5. We have 7 cameras, and primarily we got a grant for them, so we put them up for security reasons. But we all were excited too about what we might be able to capture. So whenever we have a group investigate, one of the things that I will do is I will do my best to review camera footage. 7 cameras, 2-3 hours is going to be hard for me to do that by myself. But because it does alerts, so it'll show you like if something happened. I try to focus in on there, and then I'll just provide that to any investigative group. I'll say it's a nice way. I'm not going to charge them. I'm not. We do charge fee to investigate locations. All of it goes back in. Sorry, I'm about to drop my water. All of it goes back into historic preservation. So I keep no money. All goes right back to the nonprofit group that does historic preservation. But anything that happens at night, people are usually great about saying, "Hey, yeah, you can do whatever because it was in your location." But I also want to reciprocate, say it's your footage, it's your experience. You paid for the experience, and if I can help you by giving you footage from our cameras, I'm going to do that because it only helps the whole paranormal community to be able to share and not own stuff that we aren't willing to share with people.
Right, exactly. Now, another clip I want to talk, and I was really shocked to see how on camera, that door opening. What was happening at that time? And do you know, were you able to go through and try to debunk it? Because that one's a really amazing capture.
So on that particular one, because it does send you an alert when something is picked up. So that happened in the middle of the night, and it was I said it was like 11 o'clock. I think I saw in there, and what I did was I went back, and the footage holds for about a week's worth of footage. So I went back to the most previous alert. So anybody that would have been in that room, there would have been alert to say, "Hey, someone is in here," and it's the manager or the executive director. And she is in the room. She opens the booth door. She does something, and then she shuts it. And she shuts it hard. You hear it click. And she pulls the handle, and she walks away. So, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, if she didn't shut it and it didn't latch or it didn't catch, maybe it's sprung loose that way. But you see her pull the handle and then leave. And 8 hours later, no one else goes in there, and that door opens on its own, and the theater is empty.
That's a pretty awesome catch. Now we're gonna show you've got me here a couple more good clips here. So this one here says 5 top spooky recordings at the Benton County Jail. Now this is the one that you were talking about. It's another location that you guys do.
Correct.
And this is one. Do you still do the jail, or is that the one that you don't go to anymore?
No, we still.
Or is it the theater?
Yeah, we still do the jail. We're actually working on a documentary for the jail.
Oh, wow. I can't wait to see that. I bet you that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we have a really good documentary of the theater, and it's on a different group, a different site that I'm a member of. I can send that to you.
Absolutely. I'd love to share it with everybody. I'm sure they'd love to see it. All right, ready? And we're going to go through this. This is a 6-minute clip or 7-minute clip. Excuse me. Lay down. No? Oh, wow. That was a really odd sound. Now, can you tell me, do you think you know what this says?
So when I first, I thought it said like a long drawn out bitch, but one of the girls. So I say girl. I don't sound like an old fart. She was 17, so still a girl. The young lady that was there, her name's Paige, and when I listen to it again, I really think it's saying Paige.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of creepy. It's definitely a very, very low pitch, and you can hear it. It's got vocal tone. It's got full vocal tone, but it's really hard to make it out. But you could tell by their
And that,
reaction that they were very unnerved by
yeah,
that.
well, the fact that they heard it with their own ears, so that wasn't even, um, it wasn't like playback. It creeped them out enough to get up and go, and it's in that same location where the Ouija board picked up knife, and where I heard the heavy breath in my ear.
Oh, wow. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and share your channel so that people can see it. If anybody wants to look up My Haunted Fowler, which, by the way, is an amazing channel, I follow it myself. um, and
I appreciate it.
you guys get some great captures. I got to give it to you. You guys got some pretty good stuff. Hi, Amber. Um, and again, guys, follow My Haunted Fowler. They are awesome. Subscribe to their channel. Let me see here. Helps if I share it, doesn't it?
And there's
There
quite
we
a few YouTube sites that have their recordings and their videos of their experiences. Spirit Stalkers, Tommy Among the Tombstones. Um, oh gosh, I'm going to draw a blank. She's going to hate me for this. Amy. Oh gosh.
Oh
Anyway,
no.
you can search on Fowler Theater or Benton County Jail and get a lot of, I think, quite a few good responses. You know, Oh My Gosh TV. Have you seen any of his stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's been there once, and then his friend James has been there a couple of times, and so they've had some pretty good experiences there.
I'm gonna share one more clip because I got to see this one. I just happened to see it. It says door opens on its own, and we're gonna leave off with this. Thank you guys all for joining us today on Ladies of the Paranormal. Follow My Haunted Fowler on YouTube. We're gonna check this video out before we hit the set.
Oh, this is at my house. I thought my son was coming out, and he was in the small bathroom on the other side of that door.
Oh gosh.
My wife,
You can tell you even look confused.
my wife hates when this stuff happens, especially at home.
We had to show that. You know what? I would love to share some of this one here, freaking out, 2022. Oh, starting on its own.
Oh,
Do you mind if I share this?
that was our. Yeah, it's our paranormal conference, so it may only just be kind of a promotional thing.
Well, I mean, I'm here to promote. Let's give this a little bit of a listen to. This looks interesting.
Oh no, this is from our investigation that night. I'm sorry, I got turned around.
Now, I see you're using a green filter. Is this on your phone?
So what I do is I use a product called Camtasia, and so on playback I add, I'll add a color filter. If it's really dark, it helps brighten the room up a bit. So that's what I did there, just so you could see a little better.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh yeah, we did a classic movie that night, and it was a silent film, and a guy came in with a portable organ and played old music just like it was the old silent film days.
Now, by a silent movie, is that an actual movie or is it
Yeah, it was
just a movie that
it
played?
was the actual original movie, Nosferatu, the original vampire movie. So it is completely silent, and he just comes in and plays his own organ music.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was cool.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, we've got a lot of clips of like short clips early on when I was first starting to do any of this. So my expert level was very low, but lights going off and on. We've had these series of consistent light flashes on the screen. We think it's our, we think it's. I want to say we think it's our stage lights, but they only work all on or all off. So it's kind of weird if it's only one of them flashing.
That is kind of odd.
And then we've got a couple videos of the light behind the stage, and it's a flip switch. In the middle of the night, it goes on and goes off.
Oh, wow. Now, I can hear you're asking questions. Is someone using a spirit box right now, or are you guys doing an EVP at this particular moment?
So in this particular case, I believe we did multiple things that night. So we ran the necrophonic through the house speakers, and we ran an SB7 through the house speakers. So we tried a different couple of things. We did a flashlight session. So we tried to really throw everything at it that we could that night.
Now, you said necrophonics, and the funny thing is you are now the third person to mention this happened to me, and I've been told it's for entertainment purposes only, but it's accurate, so I don't know about it too much. What's your feeling on necrophonics?
I've had what sounds like my first name being said. I've had what sounds like my first and last name being said in relation to questions being asked, and it's been. I'm always leery of anything as a sole source, so I try to take into consideration anything going on at that moment. Yeah. Like GhostTube, I don't know if you've used that. It gives you a series of random words, and
yeah, I have to agree with that.
If it gives you random words and questions you didn't ask, and they don't make sense, I'm like, it's kind of hard to say that means anything. So I'm always on the fence. It's really tough, because I think Necrophonic Chill Seekers makes that. And I believe their whole intent is to make it where it's just a smattering of words in reverse in different languages played. So, and here's where I am on the app things. There's a lot of people that don't believe the apps are a good thing. If someone's manipulating an app to make it deceitful, then shame on them. But if we believe that the afterlife can manipulate things, why can't they adjust to new technology? So there was, everybody was probably said, "Oh, you're crazy. That Ouija board, that's nuts. That doesn't work." Now it's a standard piece of equipment. And same thing was probably said about the spirit box. Well, no, that's just radio. There's no way. And now it's a standard piece of equipment. So I'm open to all possibilities.
Right. I think it just depends on the producer of the piece of equipment that's being used and the developer. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that theater used to be a hotel.
Yeah. So they when they built the theater in 1940, they had tore down the eastern third of the FOWLER Hotel, and that had been there since the late 1800s. We got a picture of that, and there was another instance. So there's been a lot of things that have happened in FOWLER. 1907, just a half block south of where the hotel was and the theater is now, there were two trains that collided head to head, and it killed 25 people, and 11 of them were burned alive. So we wonder if maybe some of those spirits have made their way to the theater.
Oh, wow.
We've got our own
That's a
Capone history.
tragic ending.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's a very tragic ending for
Yeah.
anybody, and I think we see a lot of hauntings that revolve around traumatic passings like that.
Well, and we wonder too if so. Fowler is 100 miles from Chicago, 100 miles from Indianapolis. There were no hospitals. The closest hospitals are pretty far away even today. That if you had that kind of accident, a hotel seems like a likely place you might take people to try and recover who may have died in
Yeah.
the hotel. And
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with that assessment. I think it's a very plausible explanation.
there's some rumor, and I'm not gonna. So I hate rumor because it's a rumor, but
Yeah.
the gentleman who had the theater built suddenly came into money in the 1940s. That enough to have a theater built, and there's always that. Well, where did he get the money from, and how'd that happen? And we have a strong Al Capone connection to our community. One of his
Oh,
mob
wow.
bosses bought 800 acres of farmland. I think right when Al went to prison, his family
Mhm.
still farms it today. I've always kind of wondered if any bodies were buried out there.
Oh, God. It's very possible. I mean, if he's got, that it's possible. I wouldn't put it past it. Now, who are these people that are being named off?
See, the hard
Are
part is
these names showing on the Ovulus?
I'm sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's names that were being called off, and I said, are these names that were showing up on the Ovulus?
Trying to remember, I can't hear the audio. It's really weird. I know you can hear it because you're responding to things. I'm not sure what names were being called off. If was
There was two
Danny?
names that you said you couldn't find historically.
Oh yeah, so that would have been the Ovulus. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a few names that we usually listen for, especially if it's a new group coming in that has never been or experienced a theater, to see if they pick up on them. I mean, it wouldn't take much to go through some of our footage and figure out some of those names, and but we know at least died associated with the theater.
Right. And here you're asking if they had died in the train crash that had occurred. So it's obvious that you believe, and I believe, that there may be some kind of connection between that building and that accident.
Yeah, we've had. I never know which one's seer, which one's psychic, which one's a medium, but we've had folks who are able to connect, and they've brought up stuff that asking about, was there a fire? Did someone hang themselves? And they do connect to things we know about the theater or the location. The one clip for the jail, Rick Wade, so he's a seer out of Michigan, and there was one night we were doing a remote. He's done a couple remote sessions while he's in Michigan. I'm down here, and he got the name of a recently deceased, well-known figure in the community. If you weren't from here, you wouldn't know who he was, but he was a very giving and caring person. And Rick had no idea that he'd hit that name, and I didn't share. I still haven't shared it because it's still, it's a very sensitive subject. But he nailed that name that night. The guy hadn't been dead for very long. So
Oh, God.
yeah, I have a lot of faith in Rick and his ability to pick up and connect, and a few others that have been there and shared stuff that you had to be in the know to know.
All right. If anybody else wants to watch the rest of this video, you're going to have to go to the channel to watch it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you. I would love to have you back on if you're up for being back on my show again in the future.
Yeah.
I would love to go through some more of these clips. They're pretty awesome. I hadn't seen that one yet. Maybe I hadn't scrolled through far enough yet. But
We've got about 5 playlists. I need to update to see if there's another one, but they're best of playlists. So I try to, because there's a lot. I've got like 900 videos. Not all of them are great. Some of them are iffy, but some of them, like we said at the very beginning, I don't know what caused them. I can't say they were paranormal. I just can't say what they were.
Right, and we're gonna chalk that up to unexplained phenomena.
Yep.
My favorite phrase when we don't know what the heck's going on, it's unexplained phenomena, and I think that we're gonna let other people be the judge.
Yep.
That's one of the great things about being a paranormal investigator. We catch the evidence. What you make of it, that's all you.
I agree.
Stick around though. I wanna set you up with a date in the future to have you come back on.
Okay.